it's 2 o'clock sharp, and you can set our watches to our time. But I think it's, well, Jens Vatter, who's got all his fans waiting here. Everybody here for Jens? Okay. So it's spring, and when we look in the mirror, well, we don't always like what we see. Something has to happen quickly, shedding weight, well, toning, strengthening. Maybe it works quicker with the support of EMS. Well, the advertising promises us to be fit and slim in 20 minutes' time. So what opportunities does EMS open up? Jens Vatter knows the EMS device. He has got practical experience, academic prerequisites. He's working as a scientific trainer and consultant for EMS training. Last year, together with Sebastian Autenried, he compiled the standard textbook for EMS training, translated into 4 languages. Well, should you want to buy it, it's up there available with an autograph, and you can put it underneath your pillow and read every night. His language will be, well, for everybody. What can you shape, strengthen? What can you do in order to lose weight together with EMS?
Thank you, Evelyn. Hello. Let me introduce myself. I am the main trainer on the international EMS market for the Glucker-Kolleg. So if somebody wants to actually have some international training, I am the right person to talk to. And multinationally, the question is always, what can I do to improve my contours, my figure, and slim? How do I shape my body? How do I strengthen my skin? This is, of course, a very wide spectrum, and this is why I decided to shed some light on this topic from various angles. If this presentation worked. Okay, then I'll do it that way. What does EMS mean? E not only means electric, but also efficient. M, instead of myo, means measurable. And S not only means stimulation, but it also means speed. So EMS has to do with speed, and why I will show you in a minute. Let's briefly look at study results. What are the results? Well, when we look at shaping, body shaping, then the question is, don't I have to train men and women differently? First good news is that I do not always have to do this, because they respond differently to the same exercises, to the same loads, and I still get different results. Men, for instance, around the chest, on the upper arms and thighs, actually build up muscles, and within 6 weeks, as little as 6 weeks. Regardless of it's men or women, we see the same changes around the belly, whereas women around their specific problem areas feel and see a clear reduction, hips and thighs. It was static exercises, and we only did static exercises, but EMS supported. We didn't do any specific exercises. And when you then take a more detailed look, a closer look, you can see that regardless of men and women, the fitness problem areas are worked upon. So the typical zones, if I want to build up muscles up here, then I also want to reduce around the belly. So men and women want exactly the same thing. They want a smaller belly. In the same study, I can also see that in terms of body weight, the training group in green experienced no change. I have to provide you with some add-on information for this study. Of course, you have to interpret this study right. It was a 6-week study, And as you can see in the control group, if you don't change anything about nutrition, then the fat values increase. If you do this shortly before Christmas, for instance, in Germany, because we eat more before Christmas. Had we done the same thing in summer, the differences would not have been that substantial. What does it mean for us, though? Weight is not necessarily reduced, so you don't drop any kilos, but the body changes. So the scales don't show how you reshape your body. And this is why my approach is to take photographs rather than simply rely on data. The best body fat measurement cannot equal the before and after photographs. Subjective changes are so important. And watch out for nutrition. If I really want to change my weight, then of course I have to pay some attention to my nutrition, to my diet. Because, be honest, we only use EMS once or twice a week. So 20% of the results can be attributed to this. The rest must be attributed to sleep, stress management, the diet. How do I actually make my body produce less stress hormones or not as many as the body can manage? Then what do I eat? The basis for all of this is, of course, a healthy diet. Fibers, many people don't consume enough fibers, so I simply have to eat more veggies. It is very, very helpful to not pay attention to how much people eat, but that they eat the right things. Then water, exclamation mark. Why is water so important? Well, the muscles, 70% of our muscles consist of water. And if I do not actually take in enough water, then I will not obtain good results for my muscles either. Fewer muscles means that I am burning less energy as a basal metabolic rate. Whoever listened to Professor Frohböse knows that one muscle mass actually burns an additional 30 kilocalories each day. So try to build up muscles. This will help your body to lose weight. Then component number 3 is proteins. Muscles need proteins, but above all, they need lots and lots of buffer material, which is vegetable, for regeneration. I can take in as much protein as I want to if the other components, the micronutrients, water, the fibers are missing, potassium, calcium, sodium. If all of this is missing, then I can actually eat as much protein as I want to. It will only end up in my fat pads. Then nutritional supplements can be added. For instance, omega-3 fatty acids can help to improve your blood fats. It sounds paradoxical, but it isn't. When I want to reduce my fat here, then I always have to eat some fat. Complete fat reduction is not very helpful. Magnesium. Why is magnesium important? Magnesium supports my body in managing stress a lot better. So a high-quality magnesium plus omega-3 fatty acids, as we find it in small maritime fish, because they eat less dirt, less cobalt and mercury. Then vitamin D. So take sun baths, change your lifestyle. Some nations, why are some nations healthier than others? Vitamin D plays a huge role. We can actually get this vitamin D in winter Unfortunately, the sun is not enough, so I have to supplement vitamin D. Then probiotics, they can also be helpful because gut flora, healthy gut flora is decisive in how our body manages nutrients. If my colon, my guts are unable to really digest and absorb the vitamins, then I gain weight. With the same program, I don't lose weight. What else can I do? Well, I can train with EMS, for instance. This is one study by Professor Kemmler, who will also deliver a talk this evening. Then increase the metabolism active cell mass. So forcing body cells to build up. And this means more muscle mass, means a higher basal metabolic rate. The EMS group, this was a 3-month study with people aged over 60. And they only increased their basal metabolic rate by 5%. But if you lose muscle mass when you're aged over 60, despite the strength training, minus 75 kilocalories. And this means that this group was able to reduce the body fat percentage better. So for older people, this is perfect to reduce the body fat and the belly fat. I can use my measuring tape, my tape measure, but I can also do bioelectric impedance analysis, BIA. And this BIA shows me how active my body is and how much body fat I am losing. So how many cells do I have that actively drive my metabolism? So number one, I have to measure. And measure at regular intervals. This is also a point of customer loyalty. So I know whether I have to change my training routine or whether the customer has to change something. So this is images of people who have exactly the same weight. Both women weigh 70 kilograms. One looks like this. The yellow part is yellow, the red is muscles. And what we see here is the muscle mass is low compared with the overall body mass, whereas the slender lady has very little body fat but lots of muscles, and this is why the effect is higher. So forget about the scales, just measure the periphery. Then slim versus very slim. Similar weight, but big difference. You don't see the belly. It is hidden under a very nice fat pad. So this is 20% body fat compared with 6 to 7% body fat. But let's be honest, with EMS alone, we won't get that far. We have to admit this. But what we can achieve is to move away from an unhealthy and unsporty body fat percentage to a sporty body fat percentage. What do we have to do to achieve this? Well, first rule, when we train for the first time, and especially when we work on the belly and the bottom, then I see this grin because people all of a sudden feel muscles that they have not been aware of in a long time. So warm up. Just a few minutes of warm up are enough to get prepared. Then we set a stimulus for maximum activation. So it is not enough for my customer to stand like this and not do anything. The customer has to really flex intensely, attentively, because then, only then, muscle fibers will be flexed and the fat will be driven out. At the same time, you have to flex deliberately, not wait passively for something to happen. Try to deliberately fight against the electrical resistance. Fight against it actively. And I can see in the training sessions time and again that this is even hard for many of the trainers to do. They can do it with your arm, with their arms, maybe in the legs, but as soon as they sit down, the force is gone. So as a trainer, I have to build tension and to actually flex the bottom, because then the effect is so much bigger than just with electric power. Spotting and acting. I have to motivate my customer to do more. If, like a DJ, I'm just spinning and turning the disc, fine. But the client, the customer, will not work hard. So be open, try to introduce action to the training. And once the impulse has gone through the 4 seconds of flexion or tension, in the 4 seconds in between, I can do basically anything. The post lift. I either relax, breathe in deeply. This is what most people do. I do something differently. I make the customers, when they're cats, believe that they're a strong lion. And again, build up tension so they actually flex their muscles even more. So use the breaks in between. Then you will actually make more out of this time and get more time under tension. What do I have to do? I just have to imagine this. If I want to look like a bodybuilder, then I also have to visualize this. So if I want to build that muscle mass, then I have to deliberately flex in addition to the standard flexion. So more of the hardy, the high threshold motor units are produced. So this is the motor units that need particular intensity to be activated. And this is the quick twitching fibers for speed and for the muscles. Have you ever seen a jeopard? Yeah? They have a very, very slim muscle mass, such a cheetah. They are very slim and they have a lot of speed. So what do we have to do, theoretically? Do we have to do a long endurance training? No, we would look like a marathon runner. And they have little fat pads and they have very few muscles on their legs. But most of your customers want to be well defined. And this is why you have to train fast and intensely. And this also means fewer breaks. 100% activation also during the breaks. If I do a dip, then, for instance, it's not enough to say 4, 3, 2, 1 and relax and do it again. No, I would actually say this, a fast squat. 4, 3, 2, 1, the way we know it from classical training. And last but not least, at the end of a training unit, I actually pick the target area. For instance, my thighs or my back, and there I try to work on particularly. If I want to do body shaping, of course, then the last exercise, of course, would be pumping my biceps. And I would actually retain this feeling over the next few hours, maybe even for the rest of that day, of my exercise day. So instead of relaxing after the exercise, pump up the volume, so to speak. So what do I have to do? Let me give you an example. All fibers are important. I need quick-acting fibers, lots of a high basal metabolic rate. Then I need these slow-twitching muscles and fibers because otherwise I would be tired all of the time in my everyday work. So for one training unit, I would do 12 minutes of muscle buildup with a high frequency. Lots of fast fibers are activated the way you just saw it. After that, 5 to 10 minutes, I would do an in-depth metabolic training, high intensity at 7 hertz. Maybe a modified Tabata training, 20 seconds full speed, 10 seconds break, and several repetitions. The aim is, of course, the thighs. The thighs have to move fast, they have to twitch fast, so speed is decisive here, so that I increase my metabolic rate. In studies, we also found that when I do this, then I'm burning more fat in this belly area, so speed is decisive. So introduce some speed. Speed is decisive, not the resistance. And thighs have to be loaded fast and intensely, and then you'll be successful. And the aim is to do this once or twice a week. Once a week, to be on the safe side, you're definitely not overburdening the body. Twice a week is meant for those who can withstand more without actually straining the muscles for too long. Some muscles actually can regenerate faster, but the gluteal muscle, sore muscle, gluteal muscle requires at least 4 days to regenerate. Until that time, it is not fully usable again. So when you actually train 3 times a week, the big muscle is not able to regenerate. You will only hurt yourself, and you will feel miserable, and your clients too. What does this mean for your training? Try to do intervals. Metabolic training makes sense. Strength training makes sense. Do this twice a week, ideally every 5 days. If the client can manage to do so, this would be great. Otherwise, make sure you get your sleep, the right nutrition, the right diet, and also make sure that you recover. So move in your everyday life, not just the sedentary lifestyle here. Thank you very much for your attention. Should you have any questions, you'll find me in the speaker's corner, because I will now hand over the microphone to Jonas Wilbock, a phytogram, because he will introduce you to the latest study results on the EMS market. Thank you very much for your attention.